Right friends, welcome back to News Analysis and Features. This is 43rd week from 19th to 25th October. We are going to discuss two events. One is 70 years for United Nations. What are its successes and failures? Second important aspect is the Kaladan Project. What do you understand by it? Because recently Cabinet took a decision to revive the project and we are going to discuss this issue. And look at the first one, 70 years for United Nations. In this lecture, I am concentrating only on the successes and failures of the United Nations during the past 70 years, and I am not going to talk about the United Nations organs as well as agencies. That we will discuss in some other class. And let us look at the situation when the United Nations was created in 1945. Prior to the Second World War, in the year 1920, League of Nations was created. League of Nations was created after World War I and it could not prevent World War II, and World War II ended in the year 1945, and in the year 1945, after the end of World War II, this United Nations was created, and the main purpose of creating this United Nations is to prevent another world war. So, in the preamble of United Nations, it was clearly mentioned that it is to save the succeeding generations from further wars. To save the succeeding generations from further wars. Second thing is, universal human rights are to be ensured. Third important point is social and economic progress. These are the basic issues as per the preamble of United Nations. You can say to have universal peace with the protection to human rights, and all the citizens should have progress both economically and socially, and we should not have another war. That is the main motto of the Charter of United Nations, and it was established on 24th October 1945. And the charter was basically written by the winners of the Second World War and 5 winners of Second World War. If you look at the present day Russia, the present day China, then comes France, United Kingdom and America. These 5 countries became the permanent members in Security Council with the veto powers, and United Nations came into force on 24th October. And if you look at it, 51 members were there in 1946. At present, 193 members are there in United Nations. Headquarters is in New York, and United Nations agencies or associations associated with the United Nations got Nobel Prizes 11 times so far. And total number of declarations were 90, and total resolutions were 2234. Right? More than that. Let us look at the chronicle of history, some milestones. I have already told you 24th October 1945 Charter of United Nations started, and in the year 1946 in January, first United Nations General Assembly was held in London. Then in February 1946, Trygve of Norway became the first Secretary General of United Nations. And another important aspect is in the year 1948, Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted. Right? Subsequently, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees won the Nobel Peace Prize because of their post-war refugees rehabilitation. Right? Subsequently, in November 1956, first United Nations peacekeeping force was created after the Suez Canal crisis. You may ask, what is Suez Canal crisis? Suez Canal crisis is when the Egypt was attacked by Israel, France and United Kingdom somewhere around 1956, and at that time United Nations interfered. If you look at the other milestones, in the year 1967, United Nations calls for withdrawal of Israel from occupied land. Then September 1987, you can say the most successful event of United Nations is Montreal Protocol. Total 197 signatories are there. The most significant event and you can say the most successful experiment of United Nations is Montreal Protocol. Montreal Protocol talks about improving or protecting the ozone layer, and subsequent to this protocol, ozone layer damage was restored back. It was detected that ozone layer was damaged. Ozone is nothing but O3. Ozone layer is there in stratosphere and it gets damaged because of chlorofluorocarbons, and as per the Montreal Protocol, the damage to ozone layer was restored back to some extent, and it is one of the most successful experiments of United Nations history. Then September 1996, Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty was contemplated, and it is, you can say, one of the failures because this Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty could not be ratified till date. It is for imposing ban on any type of nuclear explosions, whether it is for a civilian purpose or for strategic purpose, whatever it is. Some countries including India have not signed it, so this is yet to be ratified. Another important milestone is based on Rome Statute. The International Criminal Court will come into picture when the war crimes or genocide, such type of events take place, and this organization is commented for its bias, right? So these are various milestones, and if you look at the success stories during the past 70 years, first and the foremost is rehabilitation of post-war refugees subsequent to World War II. United Nations has done commendable job. Second is for its peacekeeping operations subsequent to 1960s. They are successful to some extent. And third important point is some organizations like World Health Organization, United Nations High Commission for Refugees are successful to some extent. And altogether 11 Nobel Prizes were awarded for the United Nations organs or agencies altogether during the past 70 years. Fourth important point is United Nations has played its role of granting independence from the colonial powers during 1950s and 60s. Then most successful story is the Montreal Protocol for protecting the ozone layer in stratosphere. And last but not the least is, all said and done, Third World War was prevented. And these are the success stories. And if you look at the failures, there are more failures than success stories. First one is the 5 veto members of United Nations Security Council took decisions as long as they do not affect them. These 5 permanent members of Security Council are P5 countries have got veto power. They are alleged to have bias of taking decisions when the decision is not hurting them. And if you look at this, total veto power exercised so far, Russia exercised veto power 81 times, United States of America exercised veto power 77 times. And this shows that veto power is exercised several times by the members, and most prominent of exercising veto power is veto of a resolution seeking a tribunal to probe MH17 aircraft disaster over the airspace of Ukraine was thwarted by Russia. Second is resolution condemning Israeli settlements in West Asia was vetoed by United States of America. Please don't forget, Israel is the all-time trusted friend of United States of America. Then United States of America vetoed resolutions pertaining to Israel 40 times till date. So these vetoes shows that there is something wrong with the working of United Nations Security Council. So veto power probably came in the way of the proper functioning of the United Nations organization. Second is the measures taken by them are grossly inadequate, like human rights violations or sometimes refugee crisis. Now European refugee crisis is there. Several people from Middle East are migrating, but United Nations is not able to do much. Third is organizations were sometimes credited with Western bias, especially International Criminal Court. Several experts say organizations like International Criminal Court are biased towards Western powers. Fourth one is United Nations could not prevent meddling of United States of America in the frequent affairs of Middle East. Because of United States actions, several Middle East countries are now in crisis. United Nations could not do much during the past 25 years. Next important point is it does not reflect the changing world during the past 70 years. Especially several developing countries are coming to the forefront, but it is not reflecting the reality of developing countries. That is the biggest drawback of United Nations. It continues to work with the 5 permanent members. Last one is it became the weakest organization after 1990s. Right? So these are the failures. Overall, you can say successes are moderate, but failures outweigh the successes in the functioning of United Nations during the past 70 years. And it is almost static without major changes in the structure of the organization itself. So this reflects there is a lot more to change in the functioning of the United Nations as a whole, so as to represent the collective opinion of the public as a whole. Right friends, having learnt this, let us move on to Kaladan Project. What is Kaladan Multimodal Project? Before going into this, let us look at these pictures. If you want to go from Kolkata to Itanagar, you have to go through this Chicken's Neck near Siliguri. If you want to go to any of the northeastern states of the country from Kolkata, look at the journey from Kolkata to Kohima. It is 1338 kilometers. Then if you want to go to Imphal in Manipur, it is 1471 kilometers. Not only the distance, the other important aspect is it has to travel all the way land route through the Chicken's Neck near Siliguri in West Bengal, and this situation arose because of separation of Bangladesh. Right? Around 1500 kilometers you have to travel to reach Aizawl in Mizoram. Meghalaya is 1092 kilometers, Agartala is 1550 kilometers, Agartala is in Tripura. So these are the distances. Not only the distances, the biggest drawback is you have to cross that Chicken's Neck, and all the way it is road transportation. So the transportation of goods and public transportation is also becoming difficult to the northeastern part of the country. So as a viable arrangement, Government of India somewhere around 2008 thought of this Kaladan project. Agreements were signed in 2008, but it could not take off for whatever the reason. And what is this Kaladan project? This Kaladan multimodal project is, this is traveling to northeastern part of the country, partly by sea, partly by river transport, partly by road. Road transport will be less, and all of you are well aware, transportation by sea or by modes of water will be less costly, less polluted in comparison to the transportation by road. So to have alternate model of transportation to northeastern part of the country by using Sitwe port in Myanmar. Please look into this. It is from Kolkata to Sitwe seaport. It is around 540 kilometers. That is by sea. By sea, we can send goods from Kolkata to Sitwe port, and from Sitwe port onwards through Kaladan river. It is around 158 kilometers through Kaladan river up to Paletwa. Please don't forget this Sitwe port and Kaladan river are situated in Myanmar. So we can go to Paletwa, the place in Myanmar, and subsequently by traveling 110 kilometers you can reach India border, and another 100 kilometers take you to the place called Longtai in Mizoram, and subsequently you can have access to northeastern part of the country, especially Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, then Tripura. These states will be benefited a lot once this Kaladan project comes through, and this Kaladan project was contemplated in 2008. Whatever the reason, it is not taking off, and it will act as alternate mode of transport to northeastern part of the country. And recently, Union Cabinet took a decision, and rupees 2,904 crore rupees of project was approved by Union Cabinet. And once this comes through, then we will have alternate mode of transport to northeastern part of the country. Especially 4 to 5 states will be benefited immensely, that Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, Tripura, these states will get lot of benefit once this Kaladan project comes through. Right friends, with this let us conclude this week's news analysis and features. Have a nice day. Thank you.